As we know, Kyle SNYDER has a great gas tank, and he's been looking real sharp today as he's got a game on top with his nice new gut wrench that he does so well and gets to the corner. Kyle SNYDER has such heavy hands. It's like he's got hammers on top of his hands, just pulling down on the head. We'll see how this goes between GOLEIJ and SNYDER.
SNYDER put up a lot of points in the quarterfinals. He knocked off the 2019 bronze medalist at these World Championships and Nurov 11-0. So SNYDER has had no trouble getting to this semifinal match. GOLEIJ did not wrestle at the Tokyo Olympic Games. He was the U23 champion in 2019. Also won the Asian Championship last year. In the red for Iran, the United States in the blue. At 97, the winner into the finals tomorrow night.
The Iranian team has an uncanny ability. They look like their chest is really far in front of their knee, and it looks like you can snap them, but their push, they drive from that front foot. You can see GOLEIJ stepping with his right foot right now and getting a good push, and then pulling really hard down on SNYDER's head. It's an uncanny ability that the Iranians are taught from a very young age.
First warning, verbal warning given to GOLEIJ. Next time it will be a shot clock. Hale Sanderson in the corner watching intently as SNYDER looks to get back into the World Finals.
SNYDER doing a great job going to the head, then going to a hook with his left hand. One thing Kyle SNYDER does so well is he changes hands, he changes his angle, he doesn't stay on the tracks in front of his opponent. Right now, though, they're going to warn, so both athletes with a passivity warning with just about a minute and a half gone in this first period. If no score is done here in the next 15 seconds, one of the two will be called for passivity again and go on that activity period.
A lot of hand fighting, both wrestlers still trying to find an opening. Heavy hands from both of these wrestlers for the United States and Iran, and we will get the whistle. Let's see which way they go first, and it's going to be the United States who gets tagged. SNYDER on the 30-second clock. If no points are scored, GOLEIJ will go up 1-0.
Kyle SNYDER is, I think, the best in the world with go-behinds and good sprawl. So GOLEIJ is not going to take that risk to take a shot. He's going to stay in the center of the mat and see if he can make Kyle SNYDER make a mistake and take a bad shot, which we don't see that very often either.
Abdul Rashid Sadulayev on the adjacent mat. He is up 1-0 in his semifinal. As we keep an eye on that, SNYDER digging and backing. Both wrestlers on their feet. Again, continuing with this upper body brawl with the hand fighting, trying to get to their tie-ups, trying to get past the opposition's defense.
No fingers, blue.
Brian, who's this pace favor from what you've seen in this first period?
Both of these athletes have great gas tanks. So really the pace, I would say that it right now benefits GOLEIJ because he's not taking the risk and he got that first passivity call. Now he's getting that push and SNYDER's back on his heels moving backwards. Now, SNYDER did a great job of working the edge of the mat and not giving out the step out to close out that period, because a point at the end of that period could pay dividends later in the match. So he didn't give it up. It's 1-0. It's a new match for 3 minutes.
And look for SNYDER to come out, try to get that passivity call on GOLEIJ early in this second period and try to get the equalizer.
And one of the things we know about Kyle SNYDER is that he's a second period wrestler. So we'll see how his hands will manifest some points in the second period.
SNYDER, a two-time world champion. He was on top of the world in both 2015 and 17, settled for silver in 18, and then brought home a bronze after a semifinal loss in the last World Championships held in Nur Sultan in 2019. Down a point, second period underway. A lot on the line here, not just the individual glory, but the team race as well. The U.S. trailing Iran in the team battle.
Right now, SNYDER using his hands really well, side to side, almost like he's driving a bus. Now getting some fakes in there, but GOLEIJ staying steady in that square stance.
SNYDER starting to move the Iranian. I think he's going to get enough to get the passivity. There's the whistle. So a 30-second activity clock.
SNYDER just picked it up another level at the beginning of the second period and started moving GOLEIJ and was able to get that point. One of the things we've seen in this tournament, though, is when it's 1-1 and there's still nothing happening, the referees have done a second activity period for one of the athletes. So someone's going to need to be on the offense and not rely on just these 1-point activity period losses.
Activity clock dwindling down. SNYDER continuing to circle. It is a 1-1 score. SNYDER with the tiebreaker with that last point score. But as Brian mentioned, we've seen it on numerous occasions in a low-scoring bout. The referee jumping in with a second activity clock.
GOLEIJ is doing a great job with his right arm to keep it back because SNYDER will work from a hook with that left hand. Now he's reaching up as an overtie, but he was pulling that elbow back to not allow SNYDER to get into his underhook.
SNYDER trying to reposition, does a good job with the footwork, kept the feet moving. Still near the edge, he'll try to reshape that a little bit. Close to giving a step out, and look at SNYDER's mobility. He was able to avoid the step out point. Terrific athleticism by SNYDER as GOLEIJ increased the tempo.
And just there, like we said, with under a minute to go, they put SNYDER on the clock again, which honestly was a good call because GOLEIJ had pushed SNYDER to the edge. SNYDER turned his back to go back to the center. SNYDER is going to need to get some type of offense in this last minute because they're not going to put GOLEIJ on the clock again with 45 seconds to go. So he's going to need something, push him to the edge to get a step out point, get to that single.
SNYDER trying to get the step out near the edge. Oh, what a power burst by GOLEIJ. SNYDER stays with it as the double, now switching up to the lock, still driving the Iranian. And there's the activity point, 2-1 Iran. What a defensive exchange by GOLEIJ.
GOLEIJ was phenomenal with that. Didn't allow SNYDER to get an angle. SNYDER with 10 seconds to go is going to have some fireworks here and keep his back to the center.
Looks for the two near the edge, and he gets it. SNYDER with 3 seconds to go. Shucked him by, gets the two.
What an amazing exchange to close that period out. SNYDER worked the edge, used his underhook for a little throw by. GOLEIJ got off position for just a moment, and SNYDER able to get 2 points on the takedown.
In the closing seconds, SNYDER is into the finals.
And that is when the lights are the brightest, where Kyle SNYDER finishes matches. He just Iranianed this tournament to the Iranian. What they've been doing all weekend, SNYDER just did to GOLEIJ. Phenomenal end to that match. And your heart almost breaks for GOLEIJ because he was that close to winning the unthinkable.
Kyle SNYDER back into the finals, a rematch from Tokyo, as Abdul Rashid Sadyulayev was able to cruise to a victory.